Bonjour mon ami, and welcome to another Homebrew Wednesday video. How are we all? Are we okay? Jolly good. Now, as you can see, I've got wet hair. I've just got out of the bath, and I thought I'd run this Homebrew Wednesday video off relatively quickly today. Not really too much going on, but there are some thank yous I want to say and some shout outs, so we'll do that a little bit later. Those of you that watched my cast on Saturday between 1600 and, as it turned out, about 7:30, will know that Vaughan Live crashed, sadly, and we was doing quite well as well. We had about 15 people in the room, and it was going really well, and all of a sudden Vaughan Live TV network decided it was going to bomb out on me, and it bombed out on everybody else. It wasn't just me, and they were down for a few days, and they just slowly started to get back to normal now. The network's still a little bit flaky, but it's getting there. So hopefully next week's vaughanlive.tv/Lakeybloke cast will be able to complete in its entirety without being interrupted by some network problems. So thank you to all of those people that tuned in. I really do appreciate your support. And also I want to just do a big shout out to a couple of other people, really. Mr. Fly Ibiza, Dominic, thank you for your support, sir. You've been a good chum when I've been deciding whether I'm going to continue doing the cast or not. The same thing goes out to Mr. Flatbeer, Mick. Thumbs up to you, sir. You've been very supportive, as has Uncle John, as always. He's a very good chap, and he's going through his own personal problems at the moment, and I appreciate your ongoing support as well as everybody else who watches the show and watches these homebrew videos. Sometimes, you know, you get into a situation where you don't feel like you want to do it anymore, and those days are really frustrating for me, because that's not me, really. It's the defeatist in me that just wants to give it up, because it's a lot easier, isn't it, to just say, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore, than it is to just stick with it and you know, just get on with it, basically. But just recently, with you chaps supported me, I've been able to stick with it and carry on doing these. So thank you very much. Without your support, I probably wouldn't have carried on doing it, in all honesty. And thank you to everybody else for subscribing and watching these videos. Now, as far as brewing is concerned this week, we've got 3 brews on the go, chaps, and I'm going to show you around those brews right now, and I'll come back at the end, as I always do, to say my farewells. So I'll see you in a bit. Cheers, chaps. There we go, folks. Look, airlock, and there's a little bubble that's going to come and he's, hey, there you go. Some fascinating airlock action. That's almost like home brewing porn, isn't it? Watching an airlock in action. Anyway, what we've got in here is turbo cider. Now, this turbo cider has been made using Suma concentrate apple juice. I've put 875 millilitres of Suma concentrate in there. I also put 2 litres of water and a 500 millilitre starter with WLP 775 yeast, and in that starter we've got cranberry and blueberry juice, just to give it a little bit of a different flavour. After 2 or 3 days, I topped it up with another litre and a little bit, so you know, maybe 1.1 litres of water, bringing it up to, you know, the 4.5 litre mark. This is a 5 litre vessel, but I'm only putting it up to there because I want to see if I can get as much apple flavour out of it as I can. There, here we go. This needs to be bottled, folks. A little bit disappointed by this one, although it looks like it's fermented out really well. It sort of dropped out at about 1.015. I was expecting it to sort of, you know, go a little bit further than that, but it's just dropped out a little bit early. Never mind. There's WLP 775 in there, and as you can see, it was rather busy. So it's not like it hasn't fermented at all. It has fermented, it's just not as much as I was expecting. But that's fine, you know, sometimes we don't always want really strong ciders. Sometimes, you know, I'm happy to settle for 4% cider. Doesn't really bother me. It's all about the flavour, really. And here we are, folks, at my fridge of doom. As you can see, it's a little bit busy, folks. The blowout tube is doing its business. I don't know if you can see, there are bubbles in there bubbling up every few minutes or so. Now, I had a little bit of a problem earlier on in the week where the lid was a little bit loose and we had some muck come down, as you can see there, and basically fill up the fridge, and it poured out onto the floor. It wasn't a complete disaster, because it was only a little bit, but it was enough that I had to sort of tidy it up. So what's in this fermenting vessel then? Well, let me shut the door and I'll get back to you and tell you. Hello, I'm back. How you doing? Right, the one thing I didn't tell you about in that video towards the end was what went into that Tettnang lager that's in the beer fridge that I had a bit of a problem with. It leaked, folks. What I did was I swapped out lager yeast and I threw in some Safale US05. I used 2 sachets in there and I wasn't expecting it to bubble up as much as it did, and unfortunately the lid came up a little bit and some of the gunk escaped during the night, went away with the fridge, escaped from the fridge and went onto the conservatory floor. It wasn't you know, it wasn't like loads of liquid, it was just, you know, just sludge, essentially, just basically fermented froth that seeped out the top. I think the lager is absolutely fine, and with the blowout tube in there, I'm sure we haven't got any nasties in the lager, but only time will tell. I think it's been savoured. There's still quite a lot of CO2 at the top of that brew. As you can see, if you look back, there's quite a big bump on the top where the lid is. But the blowout tube seems to be working, and there is some activity in that sanitised kilner jar where we've got the blowout tube popping into. Yeah, I always make sure I use sanitised water in there, just in case, you know, just in case anything goes wrong. We don't want to get any nasties into that brew, and that's key, really, because it's so easy to screw a brew up. Now, the Tettnang lager recipe I got from brewuk.co.uk. I'm not suggesting their website is any better than any other online homebrew shop, okay? I'm just saying that's where I bought the kit from, and it was all dry stuff. It was malt. I think there was some wheat spray malt there, and some hops, and yeah, there was a packet of Safale lager S23, I think. But I wanted just to put my own mark on it, so I swapped that out. I made it more of a sort of ale than a lager this time around. Normally I go for the lagers, but I've just decided to go the other way a little bit this time around, because we like to experiment, don't we, folks? And that's what it's all about, isn't it, after all? So although I stuck to the recipe, I swapped the yeast out. I did everything following the recipe, and those that are interested, if you want to pop on to brewuk.co.uk, look in their recipe sections, you'll see the Tettnang lager recipe. I'm not going to go into it here. I might pop a little recipe underneath there just to let you know what's gone into it. If you're interested, you can have a little look down there, and you'll see what's gone into that. This Saturday we'll do another Vaughan Live TV broadcast. Depending on how the week goes, we'll see how this week favours me. I'm feeling okay at the moment, but you know, as time goes on, you get more frustrated with life and the things that it throws at you. And as I said earlier in the video, sometimes you just want to jack it all in. But my plan at the moment is to not do that, because I did have a lot of people supporting me in the cast last week, and you know, fair kudos to them. Thanks to them again for joining me. And we were enjoying ourselves, and we were having fun, just talking rubbish and being silly. And unfortunately, Vaughan Live decided it was going to crash, so it all got grounded to a rather abrupt halt. But these things can't happen, you know. I've worked in IT long enough, 27 years, to know that sometimes shit just happens when it comes to computers, especially if you've got fibre running into a building and some idiot decides they're going to cut through it. Yeah, there's not very much you can do about that. It happens all the time, folks, honestly. redundant fibre. You'll be surprised how many times that happens. You have 2 strips of fibre going into a building for resiliency and redundancy, yeah? But when it turns out the 2 bits of fibre are coming down the same bit of pipe, if someone goes through that pipe, then you're buggered, aren't you? So it happens, folks. You'd be surprised how often it happens. It's amazing, because they just want to save a bit of money, and it's cheaper to do that, isn't it? I'm not suggesting, of course, that Vaughan Live did that, but I'm just saying it happens. I worked at a place, about 10 to 11, maybe 12 years ago, and they had exactly the same thing happen to them. Someone was drilling outside and they cut through the pipe, and once that happens, folks, there's really not very much you can do about it. You're at the behest of getting everything back up and running again as soon as things are fixed. So technology is marvellous when it works, isn't it? And we often, don't we, take it for granted. So let's just remember that even technology isn't fallible. Ooh, that's a good, isn't it? So what else have I got to say? That's it, folks. Very quick one this week. Again, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. Put the little box down below, and if you want to know when the Vaughan Live TV casts are happening, go to vaughanlive.tv/Lakeybloke. If you scroll down on the screen, there's a follow button. If you click that, you'll get an email when I'm casting, so you know when I'm on. And occasionally, though, I will give you a little bit of warning. If occasionally us casters have to do some testing because things don't always work out as you want them to, which means that you have to jump on and test the cast just to see that it works. Unfortunately, Vaughan Live and most of the other networks, in fact, are probably not clever enough to know that you're just doing a test, yeah? So they will send an email out to everyone saying that you're casting. I mean, people jump into the room and there's no one there. Oh, where have you been for the last 25 years? You know, why aren't you casting? Oh, and it's also not clever enough to know that you're back on again within that 24-hour period. So let's say, for argument's sake, I decided to cast for half an hour or so, or an hour, or even a couple of hours, yeah? And I went and had my cup of tea, and I came back and I started casting again later on in the day. Subscribers would not get 2 emails. They'd only get 1. They'd get the email for the first cast. So they've got no way of knowing that you're on later on in the day. So you have to rely on, the social networks to let people know that you're casting, really. And it doesn't always work, these things, people are busy and, they've got their own lives to live. So you're very much in the lap of the gods sometimes when it comes to casting. Unless you've got like a massive following. Obviously I'm just massive and no one's following me. So yeah, unless you've got a massive following, then obviously you're going to have 20, 30 people in the room no matter what. But unfortunately, my casts aren't like that. They're just a bit of fun. We play some music, we talk rubbish, we talk about brewing, and we have some good old chats. And it's just a bit of fun. We don't like to take ourselves too seriously. We'll play you some tunes. If you've got any requests, we'll play you a tune, and we'll try to accommodate you as much as we can. And when I say we, I mean me, really, because I do it on my own, like most of the other blokes. I know Harry Brew's got Dave to help him out, but sadly, Harry Brew was on his own last Friday, and he did quite well, bless him. He did very well without Dave there to entertain us. So, yeah. Keep tuned, folks. I'll try and do some more brewing videos, yeah. But at the moment, I've got so much cider and alcohol in the shed. I need to slow down a little bit on the brewing because I'm just doing too much at the moment and I can't drink it all on my own. Barbecue time's coming up in June. Hopefully I'll be able to shift some bottles then. We'll have some people round and we'll drink some beers and generally get silly and stuff. So I can start brewing again. En masse. Now, on the side here, before I go, I just wanted to show you. Look, there's some Rice Krispies. I didn't want to show you them. I just wanted to show you what I've got here. Now, this is currently carbonating, folks. So it's just sitting at room temperature to carbonate. This is the Ashes Ale, and as you can see, it doesn't look too bad a colour. It looks quite pleasant, sort of amber colour. that will be sitting at room temperature for probably another week, yeah, and then I'll chuck it into the shed of doom for another couple of weeks, and hopefully it'll be ready by barbecue time, and we can sample it, and we'll do a little review of it. I'm going to do some reviews, more reviews. I'll try and do more reviews of my homebrew stuff, guys, but there's an awful lot in the shed, and I may have already done some. I need to go through it and get myself organised and see what's out there. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing I must do is stop gesticulating. You know this. I tend to do that a lot, don't I? So for anybody who hates somebody who gesticulates is going to have a right nightmare sitting through these videos, because I do gesticulate a lot. I went on a presentation course once where I used to work, and I got told off for gesticulating. I thought they said something else, but they didn't. I'll let your minds wander, folks. So thanks for watching. Again, you know, stick with us, stick with the cast, folks, and as long as you'll stick with me, I'll stick with you. Can't say fairer than that, can I? Happy homebrews, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheerio.